But speaking of the NFC East, Jameis Winston, or as Champ called him, Martin Luther King Winston, found a home to the New York Giants. The Giants have signed Jameis Winston to a 2-year, $8 million deal that can reach $16 million with incentives. Jameis Winston last season threw for 2,121 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions with a 61.1 completion percentage in 12 games and 7 starts last season with the Cleveland Browns. This for the New York Jets. Oh, I'm sorry, Giants. I'm sorry, New York Giants. Intriguing because I mentioned before they haven't had that much of a history of black quarterbacks, though. Okay, when the last time you got to go back to Geno Smith, I think 2017 or 2018 at the time when Eli Manning got benched. The Giants have the 3rd overall pick. They have to make a serious decision with that pick. Jameis Winston is risky. First of all, if you're Malik Neighbors, you're going to be happy because you saw the year Jared Jeudy had. Madden ratings, Woody Johnson. So imagine what he could do with Malik Neighbors, who's coming off a Pro Bowl rookie season. You see Malik Neighbors putting up crazy numbers. But with Jameis Winston, he 50-50. I mean, if he were winning games, he'd be the black Brett Favre because he's a quarterback that has a cannon, that has no conscience, but at the same time, them turnovers, he's the first quarterback in NFL history to have 30 for 30. But Jameis Winston for the New York Giants, I think they just brought him in because, again, they missed out on the chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. I mean, had they had the number 1 overall pick, they probably would go with a Cam Ward. And outside of Cam Ward, listen, folks, say whatever you want about Shedeur Sanders' attitude and stuff. And Champ, he did a TikTok video and he commended me for it. Hey, if you're San Francisco or any other team out there, why don't you look at a shot at Shedeur Sanders? Hell, if you're Pittsburgh, you may look at Shedeur Sanders because why on earth would you bring in Aaron Rodgers? No. Keep Russell Wilson for another year, draft a quarterback, let him sit behind Russell Wilson, and maybe in the next year or so, that quarterback could come in. Only way that rookie quarterback can start is unless Russell Wilson plays awful or, God forbid, he's injured. But if you're the New York Giants with Jameis Winston, if you're Malik Neighbors, you're going to put up some numbers because Jameis Winston is capable of giving you some big-time performances, but he is also capable of giving you 3 or 4 interceptions. So he's risque. He's 50-50. Either way, it's still not going to be enough for the New York Giants, though, to compete. But I kind of like it if you are a fantasy football owner because Jameis Winston is unpredictable. So, BRF, I'll let you go first. Okay. What are your thoughts about the Giants signing Jameis Winston and much more?
It's also kind of funny because you can go back to that clip during Super Bowl week where
Jameis Winston Saquon. He asked Saquon Barkley.
Exactly. When Jameis Winston was at the media day and asked Saquon, "What do you think I should go?" And Saquon flat out with a straight face said, "You should." And the Giants looking for somebody, and hey, full circle moment, man. The Giants signed him. And first off, quick before I get into it, shout out to the Minnesota Vikings. They're not going after Aaron Rodgers. They are all in on JJ McCarthy. It's the right thing to do. So shout out to Minnesota Vikings for manning up and making the right decision from that standpoint. At this point, Aaron Rodgers needs to either go. He need to retire as far as I'm concerned. But that's another conversation for another day. As far as Jameis Winston is concerned, 2 years, $8 million, incentives could knock it up to 16. I think there's a possibility, even if they draft the quarterback, he could be the starter day. He could be the starter day one. And honestly, I think that's why the New York Giants are bringing him in. I think they're bringing him in to be the bridge That way, if they do draft a quarterback, he could come in. Lord, my niece is literally singing in the bathtub right now. She is just letting it go right now. But
That's fine.
but
That's
anyway,
fine.
but anyway. But yeah, they brought him in to be the bridge. I think he's going to be the bridge. I still think it definitely doesn't rule off them drafting a quarterback. I still think, me personally, I think they're going to draft the quarterback, whether it be Cam or Shadu. I seriously still think they're going to draft someone at the quarterback spot. I just think Jameis is going to be a nice bridge. Like Jameis Winston is one of those quarterbacks. He could give you 4,000 yards. He could give you 30 touchdowns, and your team can still go 5-12. I mean, that's Jameis Winston, and, and that's how he operates. That's just who he is as a quarterback. Because
Well,
hey,
well, Champ
we
did.
caught
Well,
we caught.
Champ did say called the Martin Luther King Winston. There's a lot of Martin Luther King Winston neighborhoods in Newark. He can go down there.
Well, hey, I mean, Martin Luther King, Winston, Mister 30 for 30. I mean, crab legs himself. I mean, homeboy he got all type of nicknames. He got all type of nicknames. But one thing you cannot knock Jameis Winston for: the man has, like you said in the monologue before we got this thing popping. He is not scared. He does not have a conscience. He trusts that right arm of his to make all the throws. Whether he makes all the throws or not, he has full confidence in that gun. That's one thing I will not knock Jameis Winston for. He's got confidence in his arm. He's going to try to make all the throws. If I'm Malik Neighbors, and you see a quarterback like Jameis Winston with his type of arm and I mean, let's face it, he does have arm talent. I mean, it
That's
doesn't
why he was
always
drafted
equate.
number 1.
Exactly. That's why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took a shot at him with the number 1 overall draft pick. That's why they took a shot on him. So he's not scared. And if I'm Malik Neighbors and I'm seeing that Jameis Winston with that type of arm talent and that type of strength and that type of ability, you have to be excited for the potential. If Jameis Winston doesn't turn the ball over, Jameis Winston is a turnover machine, to say it lightly. So like I said, there are going to be some. I promise you, Jameis Winston is going to have at least a couple of those games where he just goes, like, it's going to be like a 28 for 44, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interception type of game. Don't be surprised. I mean, like you said, he is 50-50 to the highest degree. Don't be surprised if he has at least 2 or 3 of those games this year where he just lights up fantasy football scoreboards, but he gives the game away on the real scoreboard. Just don't be surprised if he has a couple of those games. So, but if I'm Malik Neighbors, I'm excited about the prospect of Jameis Winston, but I still think he is a bridge for whoever I feel like they're going to ultimately draft as far as the quarterback position. I still think they're going to draft somebody. Are there other options there? Maybe. I mean, you look at it's the New York Giants. They have a lot of holes. They have holes in the offensive line. They have holes in the front seven. They have holes in the secondary. If it wasn't for Tyrone Tracy busting out, they'd have a hole in the running back position. I mean, they have holes everywhere on this team. So they have to really address that in the draft. And I mean, and honestly, particularly that secondary. Oh, like, there are some corners and safeties to be had in this draft. I feel like they would at 3. I think any DB at 3 might be a reach. But I mean, if you're the New York Giants, all options are possible. All things are open with the New York Giants at the number 3 overall pick, because they are a bad team with a lot of holes. So I
They
am
could look at
intrigued to see.
O-line. They could look at
Yeah,
O-line.
that's what I was saying. They got holes everywhere, and I mentioned it. They got holes everywhere. They got holes everywhere. I think. Let's see. I think Andrew Thomas is still there. I think he's really the only good offensive lineman that they have. But outside of that, it's like ugh. I mean, that's the rest. That's the New York Giants O line outside of Andrew Thomas. It's just bad. It's bad. So they like I said, they got holes there. They got holes on the defense. So all things are possible when it comes to that pick with the New York Giants. So we'll see what they do. But I'm this is probably one of the more I'll say this: it's exciting from the standpoint, I feel like the Jameis Winston Malik Neighbors connection is going to do some damage because Malik Neighbors has, like, you got rookies like him and Brian Thomas Jr. who've already come into the league and established themselves and put their names in the top 10 wide receiver conversation. Because some people would argue they're already there if they're not there. I mean, that just shows the explosiveness and the talent that both of these guys have. LSU, shout out LSU. You and Ohio State over the last few years are turning into wide receiver U type schools. Y'all have put out some beasts at the wide receiver positions. And honestly, I wasn't shocked when we talked about we were looking at both. I think honestly we were talking about both of these guys draft time last year, and I felt like both of them were about to do some damage. And sure enough, they were both Pro Bowlers, both Pro Bowlers. So Malik Neighbors should be happy with the Jameis Winston signing. He's going to try to get him the ball as much as possible. The wins, they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna come because the Giants just have too many holes. If nothing else, them Jameis Winston quotations, especially with the New York media, it's going to be some of the most fun we've had all season.
Well, I know Champ and Jameis, they're probably going to be going to church every single Sunday before Jameis be going to play football. And if Jameis gives them lackluster performances, fans are going to be like this.
Shit.
Trust me, I would know. I live in the New Jersey, New York area. I would know a thing or two about that fan base and the media. If Jameis puts up them lackluster performances, undisputed world champ, talk to me.
All right. Let me get back to it. Oh, damn. Vince McMahon.
Was not expecting that on a Friday night, but let's get it popping.
Yeah, let's get it popping. Boy, that controversy aged you perfectly, didn't it? But he early as hell. Look at it. Good God.
Look like a male Cruella DeVille with that gray right there.
Yeah. Look like he was on the Sopranos when it went out of style. Boy. Look like the Tuber version. Look like the Tuber version of the Sopranos.
Look like he's trying to catch a bunch of Dalmatians with that hairstyle.
Yeah.
He was wearing green St. Patrick's Day St. Patrick's Day. I don't know. Sheesh.
Yeah, you just never know with Vinnie Mac, man.
Ladies don't pinch him though. He'll take it too personal. Don't pinch him.
You just got to take it there, don't you? You just gotta be that guy, don't you?
I don't get that many pipe bombs in every so often. So when the opportunity presents itself, I got to strike.
I see.
The floor is yours, Tim.
Back to Jameis Winston. People call him the Black Brett Favre. I will go back a couple of steps. I remember to forget that the Oakland Raiders had this guy named Daryl LaMonica. They used to call the guy the Mad Bomber. And I never forget what Gene Atkinson used to say. He said, we already knew what Daryl LaMonica was going to do. The first play, a bomb. The second play, the bomb. The third play, a bomb. And he was known not only for it was always high risk, high reward with Daryl LaMonica. That's what Jameis Winston reminds me of, a poor man's Daryl LaMonica. Look.
That's interesting for you to say. I thought you were going to say Black Jeff George, but no, I won't go there.
Jameis Winston, I always say this. The biggest difference between if Jeff George would have had Jameis Winston's demeanor and he was a leader, I think he could done a lot better because he was a damn head case. And you don't want to be that as a quarterback, to be a very, very selfish player and be, a guy who's dysfunctional in the locker room.
Same thing with Jay Cutler.
Because the thing is, look, Jeff George threw the prettiest ball you would ever see. He could throw it. Look, Ken Harrock, who used to be the Atlanta Falcons general manager, he said personally, Jeff George could throw a football through a car wash and not get it wet. He could throw a car wash. He could throw a ball through a car wash and not get it wet. But he was just such a head case at a certain point, and it was just hard for teams to really just. He just lived his whole career through potential. If he would have had a better attitude, it'd have been a lot better. But with Jameis Winston, he reminds me of a poor man's version of Daryl LaMonica, if you want me to be honest with you. But like I said, it's high risk, high reward with Jameis. I really think they're going to do the same thing with Jameis like they did with Kurt Warner when they was about to bring in Eli. They're going to bring him in because they don't want to thrust whoever they end up drafting into the fire.
Mentor.
He's going to mentor. And the thing is, the perfect person to mentor the quarterback that they have coming in is Jameis. I mean, the thing is, he's made the mistakes. He's done everything. He has made the mistakes. He's been a starting quarterback. And guess what? He has no problem with taking his lumps in the media. He has no problems with it. He admits when he makes mistakes. Not to mention, there's a lot of things that happened earlier in his career that he had to recover from that was a humbling experience. So he had to go through those things, not to mention with the crab legs controversy. So there was a lot of humbling experience. So if anybody can tell you what not to do coming into this league, it can be Jameis Winston. Like, don't do this. Don't do this in front of the media. Don't be, especially in some of the markets that he's been in. Especially with some of the things that he's seen, not only in him being your starting quarterback, but also, sitting behind Deshaun Watson. He knows, hey, man, look, people start telling you and getting in your ear, start telling you to do certain stuff. Don't do it. And I think that's the perfect guy to have, because guess what? Hey, you know what not to do. I can't do certain stuff. So that's the perfect guy. So guess what? They're going to mentor him and use him to bring him up. They might play him his first year, maybe part of his second year, and then, bye-bye Jameis. But I think that's what they're going to do. New York has a lot of holes to fill. I think that Mel Kiper said it best. If you're looking for a guy who can handle adversity to the highest extent, look no further than Shedeur Sanders. Because if it's anybody that can take that heat in the New York media, it has to be Shedeur. Because look at what happened at Colorado his first year. Look at what happened even when he was in Jackson State. And then his second year, people, even though he had a hellified year, people were still criticizing him. If you ask me, he got snubbed for Heisman voting. It should have been him up there, as well as Travis Hunter. You should have had two Heisman candidates up on there. But I understand that they had other players that they preferred. But I really think that Shedeur got snubbed as far as being a Heisman candidate this year. But if there's anybody that can handle that New York media and the scrutiny and the constant, I would say the constant bear down on not only his play, but on the character, it has to be Shedeur. And guess what? I believe that if the New York Giants bring Shedeur in there, somebody who's used to the pressure, who is used to the media saying this and that and the third about him, I think he could thrive in New York. But as far as bringing Jameis in, I think it's a good thing. Hey, play him at the beginning of the year. We all know, even with a great quarterback, if you draft a good quarterback, given the magnitude of this organization, we all know still you're not going anywhere fast. We're not going anywhere fast. Granted, you have some good players. You have Kayvon Thibodeau. You have Brian Burns. You have Dexter Lawrence. You have a lot of good players on this team. But you're not going anywhere fast. So your best shot will be to play Jameis first and then see what your quarterback can do if it gets too bad, if the bleeding doesn't stop. But I think Cam Ward is going to go first, because I don't think the mayonnaise man is going to remain in Tennessee. And even if he doesn't go first, Cam Ward, if I'm the Cleveland Browns and you have Cam Ward staring down the barrel of that second overall pick draft gun, you need to pick him.
But wait a minute,
Because
champ. You argue for Abdul Carter.
yeah, because I think that Cam Ward is going to be gone. But if they have him, but if Cam is available, Cleveland needs to draft him. If I'll say this, if Cam Ward is available, Cleveland draft him. If Cam Ward is not available, then draft Abdul Carter and just make that defense so unbearable that nobody can stand a chance with you. There's been a lot of teams that have won Super Bowls with stifling defenses. There's been a lot. So wouldn't be the first. But I really think that Jameis Winston is a bridge quarterback. They're going to bring him in and kind of mentor and kind of bring a new guy into the. And plus, I don't know if this coaching staff is going to be there the year after this one as well. So I think that's another reason why he's going to end up starting as well. I don't think that Brian Daboll is going to be there the year after this one. So, yeah, there's a lot of questions with that New York organization. And, you know, there's a lot of questions and a lot of things that need to be answered. And a lot of these answers are just going to lead to more questions. It's not like they're just going to solve it and it's going to solve a little bit of everything. There's a lot of things that need to be solved with this New York organization. The only thing that's stopping them is everything, and they have to get back to it. And it's not like this is a trash organization. This organization has 4 Super Bowl rings. So they just been in a slump. They've just been in a slump. And they haven't been much like a lot of other teams when you're not able to find a quarterback and you get rid of some of your best players, that's what happens. So this team has a lot to address.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. Let's read the comments in the comment section. Shout out to our guy Harrison. What's good, boys? Just want to say the sky's the limit for Carolina and let Dan Morgan cook. PSP go go OU. Vince McMahon looks like my dad whenever he gets mad at me. Winston is just nuts in a good way. And Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdell is going to feed families.